What is life like working with a chronic illness? What is life like working with a chronic illness? Is anybody out there working with a chronic illness? What jobs are there that are going to help you to reduce stress? And what jobs are creating stress? That's the thing that we're going to ponder today. Hello, I am Shanika Bridges Mathieu, founder of Shackles Off TV. And this is my husband,
Emmanuel Mathieu.
And he is our co-founder of Shackles Off TV. You don't normally see him much. You have seen him on prior videos, but we wanted to bring his story, our story, to the world and share with you, because other people may be going through this same thing. So I'm going to be interviewing my husband today instead of interviewing somebody else. So this week's interview is focused on men's health and men working with chronic illnesses, and that can happen to anybody. So we're going to start with Mr. Mathieu. Emmanuel, take us back to, first of all, introduce yourself, where with the school and, where your profession that you, had for years, and where you started with your chronic illness.
Okay, my name is Emmanuel Mathieu. I'm not going to name the school. I was in DeKalb County Public School. Before that, I was teaching at Our Lady of Victory. That school is currently closed as of right now, so that's not a factor right now. But I used to teach in DeKalb County Public School.
Okay, and so how long prior to that? How long have you been teaching total? Well, were you teaching total before you found out you had a chronic illness? Take us back to college where you got your degree.
I went to Florida Memorial College in Miami, Florida. Before I got my degree, I was working at Jackson Memorial Hospital in Miami, Florida, labor and delivery. So basically, that was a stressful job from the beginning. That's the beginning of the stressful jobs, but that was the beginning of a stressful job, and then it just led from that part on. But I taught teaching for almost 20 to 25 years, and then I developed a heart problem, and a kidney problem, and that's began my problem.
Right. So just to give some background, we got married in 2012, and prior to that, he had told me, we dated for over a year, and he had told me that he had never been sick. I was like, I had never been sick. Now come to find out, he wasn't going to the doctor regularly, right?
Yeah, I wasn't going to the doctor regularly. I was supposed to go every year for an annual checkup, and I was just working and not taking care of my health, and that was my problem. I was working. Actually, matter of fact, I was working 2 jobs. I was working at Jackson Memorial Hospital during the day, and I used to work at night. During the day. I work at Jackson Memorial Hospital, and then at night I used to. During the day I was working at a public school, and then at night I was working at the hospital.
Right. So he was working 2 full-time jobs. This is prior to us meeting with his former wife and family. Working 2 full-time jobs. Then he moved up to Atlanta and started working at a Catholic school. But after we got together, after he got a divorce and we got together, he was diagnosed about 3 years after we married with chronic heart disease, right?
Yes.
Right. So he had was diagnosed with heart disease, and what triggered it was in 2015, and I remember this like it was yesterday. He was doing a lot of coughing and a lot of swelling up, right?
Yes, I was doing a lot of coughing. I thought it was just a simple cold, because I was like, you know what, I'll get over this cold, and then when I get over this cold, I'm going to be all right. And I'm like, my wife kept telling me, you know what, go to the hospital and get a checkup. I was like, no. What's the point of going to the hospital? That's just a waste of time, waste of money. that I could save that money by not going to the hospital, and by not going to the hospital, that led down the street to my health failing.
Right. So it took, it was months. I had noticed him just coughing. I'm talking about, like, sometimes uncontrollable, sometimes all through the night, and him swelling up. Now, mind you, at the time, we were in our late 30s. 2015, you were, 38, I believe. Yeah, because I was 27, 28, 38, about to be 38 or 39. I think you were 39 when you were diagnosed. Yes, you were 39. It was around, I want to say, it had to be around March because, I told you, and you all know this, and from prior videos, if you've been watching, I do teach engineering and technology for a public school system. And so we do a lot of traveling. We have competition teams. So we normally have a state competition around that time. And that was the first year I started teaching at that school in 2014 as an engineering and technology teacher. And literally my husband got sick like that first year I started working there. So I could not go with them to the state conference because they called me the day before we were supposed to go. Luckily, we have other teachers there that took my place. They called me the day before and said they were rushing him to the hospital from school, from work. And that was very scary because he had never been in the hospital before. I don't even recall him going to the doctor. But what triggered you going to the hospital on that day, Emmanuel?
I was at work. And for some reason, it was after school. I was sitting there checking papers. The teacher I was working with, Mr. Frazier, yes. It was after school.
Not Mr. Frazier. The Mr. Frazier was at a different school. It was OLV. It was Miss, the lady used to be a paramedic, Miss Jackie.
Oh yeah, it was Miss Jackie. That's
yes.
What I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Mr. Frazier. But I was after school doing checking papers and doing my work, and then all of a sudden I went to the restroom, and then all of a sudden
at OLV.
Yeah, I feel sick, and there was I feel like I'm losing. I'm losing the weight in my legs. I feel I can't feel my legs. I can't move, and they called the paramedics right away, and they came and took me from the school to the hospital.
Right. So thankfully, shout out to the doctors at Piedmont. They're amazing. He was in the hospital for about 2 or 3 days before they were able to, diagnose everything, run the tests, and it was devastating. At the time, we had only been married for about almost 3 years at that time, almost. So, I'm looking like, okay, he's not even 40 years old. I'm not even 40 years old at the time. We're only about 7 or 8 months apart. But, it was, I'm like, what the world? And you hear stories of men, you don't know what to expect because I didn't know anybody his age that had this, that was just something that was unordinary. So we, and that was tense, being in the hospital. What happened actually, and sometimes I remember stuff a little bit better because over the years I've been with him through the process. So a lot of times I have to kind of remind him of certain things, but this is what my version of I recall. And I remember this like it was yesterday. They called me and they said, okay, his blood pressure, I believe it was something super high, like you were almost at 200 over something crazy, 150 or something like, it was something crazy, like, where you could have pretty much stroked out or heart attacked out. And they rushed you to Piedmont in Fayetteville, Georgia.
Yes, it was.
And you were there, oh my gosh, like at least a week at least. I'm trying to remember. I think it was at least a week.
It was a week, yes.
And you had such a wonderful support system. I mean, just people coming in from your former school. They're some of the most amazing. And shout out to them if they're watching. I mean, I never seen a school that supportive in my life. And I've been teaching 16 years, and not to say I don't have a supportive school, but no. Nobody, I don't, like those parents and students at that school, like, came up, brought food, asked me, do I want to stay over there? Because I was living an hour away from there. We were an hour away. Raised money, all kind. They GoFundMe. Whatever we needed, they had it. It made it really easy for us. I mean, literally was there all day with me, like would rotate. I mean, and watching him, I mean, somebody who really rallies together, and that tells you about the type of educator my husband is. When you have, I mean, you don't get that everywhere. I mean, they were just so concerned and dedicated, and they've done that more than once, because he's been in the hospital more than once. Not recently, thank God. But just to say, you know, going through that, you know, this has been almost 10 years. It's been 9 years. And you know, left that school eventually, you know, worked there an extra year. But you were reduced to part-time the next year. Yeah. Right? Mm-hmm. And so he decided to leave at school, and you went to work at the leader. I mean, we're not going to say the names of schools, but you went to work at a different school, a charter school. Yes. For a year, right? Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. So talk about that.
I left the private school. I went to a charter school, and I decided that at charter school I was going to have a more opportunity to make more money, and basically by making more money I could raise my family a little bit better. So I decided to go to the charter school, and at the charter school I was teaching math and helping out with science. I was like I was not a full-time teacher. I was a teacher assistant at the charter school. So then I went to the charter school, and that was a good school too. The kids were wonderful. I had a lot of good kids back in the days in that school.
Right, but still, you were had moments where you did have to go to the hospital. I mean, I got another call maybe 6 months after you started working there, and then, you know, and I had friends that worked there. I know a lot of people, as you all know, that called me and said, okay, we got to take your husband to it used to be always when he was at work, where he would go to the hospital, always. And I'm not, he don't listen to me like, go to the doctor, nah, but if somebody at work tell him to go to the doctor, he going to the doctor from work. So he went there. I think he went to the hospital like maybe, I can't think, another week. So what kept happening is that when you have congestive heart failure, so I said chronic heart failure, congestive heart failure. When you have congestive heart failure, right, that comes from high blood pressure. So, you know, if you have undiagnosed high blood pressure, it's not being treated, it's not being regulated, it can set everything else off in your body, right? Because your body needs the blood to flow through so your heart can pump, your lungs, you know, everything. And what it does is it regulates and deregulates your heart and your kidneys. So when he was diagnosed with congestive heart failure, not only was he diagnosed with congestive heart failure, he also was diagnosed with stage 3 kidney disease. Now that is different from, you know, what he currently has, and we'll talk about that. But stage 3, so that means that there's 5, if I'm not mistaken, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, 5 stages of kidney disease, and a lot of it does have to do with, you know, your diet and your blood pressure, things of that nature. But during those instances when you had to go to the hospital, because I can recall, especially between the years of 2015 and 2020, you probably went to the hospital, I say every 6 months, seems like. Yeah. You were going because your blood pressure kept getting unregulated, kept swelling up. My blood pressure was
swelling out of control. Yeah. So I do 6 months, and then my blood pressure get out of control. And then I have to go back into the hospital.
Right. So that's what it was. And, you know, some of it was the medicine not taking it correctly. You know, just to be honest, be transparent. And just really getting used to it. Because that's a hard diagnosis, y'all. You know, if you really think about it, that's not easy to somebody tell you, oh, dog, you got, you know, a heart condition. Now, he never had a heart attack. He, you know, thank God that you never had a heart attack, you know, which... He had his moment. So I think the greatest moment that came was in 2020. This is just before the pandemic. And I remember the exact date was January 13th, 2020. I got a phone call again. I think everything was going, I thought everything was going good with him. And then you were at the school that you were working at last, well, as a teacher. So can you remember what happened with that?
On that day, I was working after school. Everybody was going. I was staying after school. I'm finishing my paperwork after school. And then I decided to go to the bathroom. I feel like I had to use the bathroom real bad. So I said, let me go to the bathroom. and use the bathroom, and then afterwards I'm going home. So I went to use the bathroom, and I remember using the men's stall, and I was standing there and I was using the bathroom, and then all of a sudden I remember fainting. And good thing the custodian staff was still there working, and one of the guys saw me go to the bathroom, so he decided to go inside to see if I was okay. And when he saw me on the floor, he called the paramedics, and then the paramedics came out to the school and got me.
Yeah, so that's exactly what happened. So I'm, again, I do a lot as a teacher, not just teach and go home. I'm usually after school, and I'm running some club or organization, or I'm doing paperwork, trying to keep up with grade papers. It's always something. We never stop really. But I'm thinking on January 13th, mind you, we had just came back from Christmas, Christmas, New Year's break. Yep. And I'm thinking, okay, because as a teacher, you're like, okay, I got all the stuff graded, I got report cards in, I got, I'm thinking, okay, I'm caught up. You know what I'm saying? Everything is, copy steady. We good. Next thing I know, phone call at the school. Hi, is this Miss Bridges Mathieu? Yes. Well, your husband, we're going to have to take him to, the hospital because he fainted in the bathroom. What? I'm just like, oh, and every time I got that call, because I got it enough times to where it's like, okay, I got this down. I'm a professional at this, at going to the hospital where, with my husband. Every time I got that call, I was just like, okay, let me get myself together, God. Let me get myself together. I'm like, okay, I have to be rational. You can't, just get crazy. You know what I'm saying? So I'm used to dealing with high stress, and I think I was trained for it. The ironic thing is that, my maternal grandfather was on dialysis for 18 years. So I grew up pretty much, he pretty much raised me, for the most part. Now he totally by himself, of course, my mom, but I'm just saying, it's a male figure. He was that solid male figure in my life till he passed away when I was 16. So and then plus I saw my grandmother die when I was very young of cancer. So I just been used to stuff. My dad died when my son was born. There's a lot of stories that we need to tell. So I was just used to just dealing with stuff, right? It's just, I could deal with it. I was built for it, right? So went to the hospital. We were there all night. And my husband, you okay?
Yeah, I'm good.
We were there all night. And they were just diagnosing. How you sit in the emergency room like, okay, just to be seen. It took probably, I think they sent you back there. They let you be back there because they rushed you in there. Mm-hmm. So that's the beauty of going in an ambulance, is that you usually going to go to the back quicker than somebody who just drives in. And then sometimes you're just sitting in the lobby forever. So he was back there and we're sitting there. I had to get there probably like 5 p.m. And we were there, I want to say all night. I'm trying to remember. I think I might have left at 7 a.m. And they still really didn't know. They were running all kind of tests. They did a echocardiogram. They did a heart ultrasound. They did so much stuff. And they knew that, he was swelling. He was swollen. I think, if I can recall correctly, of course, he had high blood pressure. But they didn't know why he fainted. So I go back. I don't know if I went back to work. I think I did. Or maybe I was at home. Maybe I was at home that day just waiting for, because he was still at the hospital, so we could admit him. And we're just going to monitor him, right? So we can see what's wrong. So I want to say, who had to be, maybe it was noon or 1 p.m. or maybe 3 p.m. that day when I went home around 7 a.m. to get changed and, just go back to the hospital. And they said, we're going to have to do an emergency heart surgery. And I'm like, what? They called me, told me, so we're going to have to rush him to Atlanta Piedmont, Atlanta. He was at the Cap Medical. And they said, we're going to have to do emergency heart surgery. We don't have pretty much, I don't think they had the heart doctors like to do the surgery. So he had to go to Piedmont. Piedmont is really good. If you have to, get heart surgery, go to Piedmont. Okay. Grady, if you're in trauma, go to Grady, But we went there. So I had to get back to the hospital and I was waiting for them to transport, because they have to transport you into the emergency room for the surgery. So he was sitting in intensive care. Because they said his aorta had burst. So basically what happened when he fainted, and I think it happened when he fainted. Nobody really can tell me when it happened. But your aorta is a valve. It's, if I'm not mistaken, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, connected to your heart. and it gets like a flap that's connected, to keep it pumping and whatever. So that had burst. And if your aorta burst and you're walking around, it's a miracle, because that could kill you, right? So of course it had to be emergency surgery so they can repair it, right? So eventually they took him over. I want to say it had to be 9 or 10 o'clock that night to Atlanta Piedmont Hospital. And I think I rode the car. Of course, I didn't ride in the ambulance. I just drove to the hospital at night. And it was a waiting game. They told me, okay, we're going to be in surgery about 4 hours. This, and then, I just waited there, and one of my friends came and sat with me. One of my colleagues that works with me, they came and sat with me while you were having the surgery, because that was the only person who, everybody else was at home sleeping, I didn't want to, be in the boys. Thank God, for my mother lived at that time, we lived down the street, like 0.6 miles away from my mom and my stepdad. So they had the boys. The boys were, I think they were older. They were teenagers, of course, at the time. So, trying to remember, because they're 21 and 19 now. And I'm talking about, the boys that stayed with us. Of course, we have another son from his previous marriage. But they were, their school. And I want to say this is before everything is shut down. So they still were physically going to school. This is January 13th or January 14th, which is the surgery. Surgery was like at night. Well, in the morning or at night. Early in the morning, like it was, I'm trying to remember. It's a blur. I just know the 13th was the day they called me. So it had to be the 14th when you had the surgery. And so sat there. It took about 4 hours. I think about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, maybe 4. They were finally done. I know the doctor came, amazing doctor, and I got to remember his name. Sorry. He is amazing. He came and told me, basically they took a pig's aorta, and, they have to open up your chest. And they have to shut all your organs down. They took a pig's aorta and put it in my husband's chest, and they said the surgery went well. And I want to say this had to be like a Wednesday. I have to go back. Maybe it was the 14th of January. It was a Wednesday, 2020. So, yeah. See? They took it open. And so, I was like, okay, praise God. Everything is good. Of course, I'm calling his family, lives out of town. His brothers all stay in a different state, except for one. And then his sisters and stuff. So I'm keeping everybody posted, telling them what's going on. And, So the next day, he went, of course, I could go back to the intensive care with him. And you okay?
Yeah.
You want to stop it?
I'm good.
A lot of stuff he doesn't remember, so I just have to bring it to existence. And our whole purpose is not to shame whatever. It's to really bring awareness, because a lot of people don't know, and people don't know what people are going through, right? And you don't know what people are going through and how things can save your life, So anyway, long story. Of course, when they give him time to wake up, so he had to be asleep today. But I think I might have went home and went to sleep, because they don't let you sleep in the rooms in intensive care there, and especially in 2020, early 2020, January 2020. So I was able to go back to the room. This is before they had all the restrictions with who can go in the room and how many, and things of that nature. And went back to the room. This is the next day, and they woke him up. He woke up, and I was like, praise God, he woke up, because it was like, we're gonna wake him up and this and this. And I'm trying to remember I have to go back and look at pictures, right? Because I do take pictures. I take pictures for memories, right? And I'm just a picture taker. That's what I do. And so he woke up and he couldn't say much. And I said, hey, Manny, you okay? What's going on? Do you remember anything? And then he was like, he saw God. Mm-hmm. And God told him to keep the faith.
Keep the faith.
That's what he said. And I said, okay, praise God. Next thing I know, I want to say an hour later, he went out and they had to intubate him. They had to put you on life support. I want to say that same day, you went out, and you went out for 3 weeks. He was on life support. There's several things that were triggered. I can't even remember, because it was 4 years ago. It was just so much going on. It was overwhelming. I literally saw him, they was hooked up to every machine known to man. Of course, at that time, I think what triggered a lot of stuff also, he had a cold. I don't know if it was COVID. I don't know if it was, they said it was something like pneumonia. I think that's what I recall. I just have to remember. It was something that was causing him some complications. And so they had to do another quick surgery or something. They had to put on the breathing machine, put him back on the breathing machine. And he was just pretty much out, not necessarily flatline or anything like that, but they just had to start hooking him up to all kinds of machines, like a breathing machine, this machine, that machine. I cannot remember. I want to say it was like 6 machines. I was like, oh my goodness, I ain't never seen. And I think if I still have some pictures, I'll put them up. Which is a lot of machines that he was hooked up to. So, of course, I'm calling everybody, letting people know. And yes, I am, on social media. I have a lot of people on social media, and that's quicker. It's easier for me to, put stuff on social media and just say, okay, pray for him. This is what's going on. I really think, that helped a lot because, I believe we just had prayers coming from everywhere, from his school, from his family, from my friends, just everywhere. And that really, God answers prayers. Because if God told you to keep the faith, and he told you, you shut all your organs down. Because when you go through a surgery like that, they have to shut all your organs down. So it's kind of like you do die. They kind of artificially keep you alive. And so that's what one of the doctors said, or I think one of your brothers told me that. He was like, yeah, because they have to shut all your organs down. And mind you, 2 of his brothers are doctors, right? So it happened, So that's why I was like, nobody in the world can tell me that God does not exist. Nobody. Because my husband I don't want to hear nothing when nobody says, oh, you're a liar. You don't know nothing. Because I know for a fact that it was a miracle that he came back. I'm telling you, he was out from, like I said, he went to the hospital the 13th. He had the surgery on the 14th. We did not get out of Piedmont. I think you was in the hospital for at least intensive care. I want to say at least 3 weeks. Mm-hmm. 2 to 3 weeks. If I can recall correctly, 2 to 3 weeks just at Piedmont. And then they had, to the point where they had to put a trach in his throat. Mm-hmm. And I think you could still see where they put the trach. They had to put it too. So, you only can have a breathing tube right here and it going through your mouth so long. And then they put it here, right? Then that only can be for so long. Because you just sitting there and you're atrophy, where you're losing your muscle mass. You're not eating. You're eating through a tube. So it's only so much you going to do. When you went into the hospital, I think you weighed 50 pounds higher than what you weigh now. Mm-hmm. And maybe 60 pounds. And most of that was a water weight, y'all. Mm-hmm. I'll say half of it. And then he lost the other 30 pounds. When he got out of the hospital, I think you were like 210 or something like that.
Below 210. It was like...
Yeah, you had pretty much withered away. Mm-hmm. And mind you, he had went to 3. So he was in intensive care at Piedmont. And then he had to go down to what we call an LTAC, which is a long-term assisted care. I think that's what it's called, LTAC facility. So I forgot the name of it, but it's not far. It's close to downtown Atlanta. It's more midtown per se. But he went there and but still had the trach in his throat. Still wasn't fully, what do you call it? Still wasn't fully comprehending. Yeah, recovered. Yeah, recovered. And they just try to, get you, wean you off of the trach. So they did that. We were there probably, I'm trying to remember, 2 weeks.
It was 2 weeks.
I think about 2 weeks and 3 days there. And this is how I know God works. He pulled the trach out. Now when people are in the hospital, they get mean. Now he didn't know who I was. He thought I was his auntie. He thought I was the nurse. He thought I was everybody. He lost who I was. Because when you're constantly, the medicine is going through you. You okay?
Yeah.
It's just hard to remember. But when that medicine is constantly going through you and everything, you don't know what's going on. Like, you're just delirious. You've been out so long. Mind you, when he came back, he started coming back. Like, he started waking up because we was talking to him, praying. His brothers and sisters and came and visited him. From out of town, and I had people coming to see him. Of course, his sons and. Just everybody. People come sitting, people from the school, just, because I'm one of the, like I said, this is before you could have a lot of people in the room, and this is before they shut everything down. And so we just in there praying, singing, just playing, music, gospel music, all kind of stuff. So eventually he woke up. He waking, just slowly but sure. And then mean, honey, was mean with that medicine. It was, woo, I was like, and then then they had to the point where they had to strap him down on the bed because he was trying to get out the bed and he couldn't really walk. Because when you're sitting there for 3 weeks, a month, and you haven't, used your legs, you haven't walked, you are losing it that quickly. You are losing your ability to walk. So he couldn't walk, and he was a danger, right? He was trying to go home once he realized, dang, I don't want this, I'm not sick, so it's kind of like he was kind of fighting, like his body became a prison, right? Mm-hmm. It was like, oh my God, like I want to get out of this. And when he snapped out, and the beauty of the fact that he was, now when this happened, like I said, this was 4 years ago. So you're 48. So he was 44. He turned 44 in the hospital, y'all. I want to say that's right. Yes, because we went to a hospital in January. His birthday is in February. So he was 43 when he went in. He turned 44. We had a little birthday party. And, people weren't happy about that. But anyway, long story. Yeah, so, and right after, I want to say right after your birthday, you were able to eat a little something right after your birthday, right? Yeah. Oh my God, I don't think you remember. But they were doing all types of therapy with him, this and that. And then eventually they asked me, okay, next, when we leave here, it was that he had to go to a rehabilitation center. Yes. And so they told me that he could either go to a nursing home or rehabilitation center. I'm like, well, he ain't going to a nursing home. We know. He's 40, 44. We ain't doing that. That's because I know, unfortunately I did not, and I'm not to say there's, horrible nursing homes, but my dad actually passed away after being in a nursing home. He was paralyzed from the neck down the last 2 years of his life because somebody hit him with the car and ran away. And so he had died of pneumonia the same day my youngest son was born, the same day. Like I had my son in the morning, he died at night. And like I said, I've been through it. But you went to, do you remember being, I think it was called, it was in Gwinnett, y'all. It was Glancy or Glant. I can't even think the name. I can't think of the name. I have to go back and look at my notes. But he was in a rehabilitation center in, there was kind of like a hospital, but they were just there to do physical therapy, occupational physical. I'm missing one. It's another one. It'll come to me. Well, 3 different types of therapies and speech. You had 4.
I went therapy in the morning. It was speech. I was therapy in the morning, and then take a break, and then I go to therapy in the afternoon, take a break, and then go to therapy again, and then I went one more therapy at the end of the day, and then that was my day. That's all I was doing. Mm-hmm. I can't do nothing else. Yep.
They were just trying to get him back to where, because like I said, he wasn't being wheeled around for about 2 to 3 weeks. So total in all, he was in a hospital between, like he started off in DeKalb Medical for a day, 2, then he went to Piedmont, like a day and a half. Piedmont for like 3 weeks, then the LTAC, then he went to, so 2.5 months. Like I said, it was 2.5, it was from January 13th. So they literally shut the world down. I want to say, and I know because I went back to work. I was off work for 4 weeks, and I was going back, intermittently to see about him. I going to see about him in the evening. And so we were out of town at a state conference. He was still at the LTAC, and he was, recovering. And we were still in Georgia, but like an hour away. And we were able to go on to the conference. We went like on that Wednesday, but they made us come back on Friday because the world was getting shut down, and the world got shut down on that. It had to be like the 13th, the 15th, something on 2020. Somebody look it up and tell me, but yes, or I want to say it was like the 13th or the 15th, and then they let him out like 3 or 4 days later to come home. And at one point, we thought that he was going to have to get a nurse and this and this. But God made it fit that I was there with him. I had to teach online, which was a dream of mine, actually. I had to teach online, but I was there to be with my husband as he recovered. And we had to take him back and forth to therapy. So I did have to take him, I want to say 2 or 3 days a week.
3 days a week.
3 days a week. Yeah, he still had to go for like a month, if I'm not mistaken. And of course, we had all those measures. The world shut down, but we couldn't shut down. We still had to move around, And he just got better and better. He did not need a nurse or anything. What did happen when he was in the hospital is he went to stage 5. kidney, which is end-stage renal disease. So basically what happens when they shut all your organs down, they peeled his heart. His heart was getting better because at one point, your ejection fraction was like 15%. So what does that mean, y'all? So basically your heart has a pumping rate. They call it ejection fraction. And I want to say it's supposed to be around 60% for an average. His was like 15, 20%. It was very low. So what happened, now he's back to normal with his heart. But his kidneys, he goes to dialysis for. So ever since he was in the hospital in January 2020, they had to do a 24-hour dialysis on him. And that set him into dialysis. And that's why he stopped teaching.
Yeah.
Of course, when you taught him, you really didn't talk about some of the stress, because you didn't mention that you were a special ed teacher at a public school. We don't have to name the school. But y'all, you know, it's real in the field, and both of us are educators, right? Everybody handles stress different.
Yep. It was stressful doing special ed because it was not only you have to write lesson plans, you have to write IEPs, you have to contact the parents about the kid failing, you have to try to get the kid to pass, you got to try to get the kid to graduate. And I was doing 12th grade and 9th grade, so I was catching the beginning and the end. The beginning, the parents don't want to do nothing. At the end, the parents like the child is old enough to sit on their own IEP. They don't have to come, and you have to figure out how to get the parents to show up to the meeting.
And then also that school just had a lot of, you know, behavior issues going on as well. You know, fighting. Every time I come to around, you know, he said, oh, they had to break up a fight. It was a fight. You know, so just dealing with, and then, you know, of course, teenagers in this day and age with behaviors and talking about, and that can be very stressful. And then the stress, so you got internal and external pressure. On top of that, you're working with congestive heart failure, stage 3 kidneys. A lot of students have no clue. I know even at my school currently, and I've been at this school almost 10 years, I know that several people have ailments that are chronic. I know for a fact, I'm not going to reveal who they are, but I don't think kids have that concern. And they're kids. There are kids that I've taught that had chronic conditions. Some of them are hospital homebound. Some of them are coming every day. So people just have no clue what people really, really deal with, because people put you on such a high pedestal as a teacher, but they don't know how much you're suffering. Of course, with all the stuff that he went through and the fact that we went through COVID, working from home, you know, of course he was on FMLA with the school system still, so he was still on with the school system. But you know, you only can be on FMLA for so long. And with everything that transpired at the time that it transpired, it just didn't make sense for him to go back, especially the fact that he was on dialysis. He literally had to go to dialysis, and still does, 3 times a week, 4 hours. Mm-hmm. And that's during the week, not on the weekend. Now, I know some people do dialysis and they go work full time, but it just wasn't the type of job and the level of stress load. I honestly believe, and I tell him all the time, I think, that unfortunate situation might have been the best thing that happened to you to save your life. I really believe that, because thank God we had short-term disability, long-term disability. He did have some sick time before he used that. And then, thankfully, he was able to get on SSDI to eventually. So, thank God, we really didn't skip a beat much financially. We've been blessed, and that's all God. That's all God. And we've been blessed. Thank God I've been working full time, and like I said, he's still getting income, but just not earned income. Just recently, he just went back, to a small part-time job, working like 20 hours a week, not a lot, just so, because he was getting bored, being in the house. And that was just recently, like in a couple months, for a couple months. But I just think that this, and we always say this is the best thing. Sometimes your tragedy can be a triumph, because I don't think he would have been here if we would have kept teaching. And I've talked to friends of yours that worked with you. Mm-hmm. Your colleagues, and they said the same thing. They told me when you're in the hospital, it's like, Neek, don't let him go back. and if that person's watching, you know who I'm talking to. I'm not going to put you out there. And I was like, okay. because sometimes you have to hear that, it's not that we don't love the kids, and my husband's an amazing teacher, and like I said, the testament we have posters, and I can pull up pictures. I think, like I said, I'm a documenter. I document things. I literally probably can pull up some pictures from 2015, when he was in the hospital, and what the kids did. It was just amazing. It was just amazing. The support system, the friends, the family. We have a wealth of that. And that's so important when you're sick, right? Because we're not the type of people that's beg people to do stuff for us. You wouldn't barely hear us call and be like, well, can you send me some money? Even on this channel, you don't really hear me saying, send me some money. Like I do a lot of stuff. And, we do a lot of stuff. You don't ever hear us really saying, okay, buy this, buy that. I could, but I don't. And he doesn't. We're not going to be beating down the door trying to beg for nothing, right? But we are blessed by God. We honor God, and God honors us, and that's important. But when you put good into the world,
you get good back.
Get good back, and that comes a lot of times through the people that you bless, that you've been there, working in the trenches. Like those seeds were planted. They were planted. As teachers, sometimes we don't get immediate benefits for our actions, right? Sometimes we get beat up. We get beat up by the school system. We get beat up by parents. We get beat up by policy and politics. We get beat up by students and them, saying stuff out the side of their neck, whatever. And, people don't appreciate us. But when the child comes back, whether you had one of your students, and there was a number of that came, but one of them really, I think you hadn't taught her for like 10 years. I want to say she was a teacher.
Yeah.
She was a teacher, and you were at the Glancy, the last hospital, the rehabilitation. She came and sat with you for about 4 or 5 hours. She was like, that's why I'm a teacher, because of him and this and that. I mean, I was just like, wow. That just really shows, this work is calling. I say it all the time. And some teachers may not feel that way. Some teachers might say it's just a job. You see this shirt? Faith. But read that, what is
Fake foreign. Yeah. That's true.
That's what it is. That's what it is. God said, what? Keep the what? And I didn't even, we had this conversation. Honestly, y'all, today I was supposed to be interviewing somebody else. And I said, and they had to reschedule. And I said, well, shoot. I always said in the back of my head, well, I need to interview my husband. I always said we would have this interview one day. It took over 4 years. But this is an interview that had to be made. Because number one, people don't know what you're going through. They just look at you, they strong, they got it, they can do whatever. And I'm one of those people I come across like, I'm a self queen, not in a bad way, but I come across like, I got it. I can get it done. I can get, they say I'm a jack of all trades, master of some. Master of some. I'm not master of none. That's definitely not true. But I'm one of those people. I'm just going to keep rolling with the punches and figuring it out. And yes, stress manifests in different ways. It manifested for you with the high blood pressure. But that's also something that runs in your family, right? Mm-hmm. So other people have it, but you just didn't know that you had it.
No, because nobody never say nothing. Nobody never say nothing. So everybody, if they sick, they just keep going. And nobody ever say nothing. I think my dad had the history of high blood pressure. I know my mom was good with her blood pressure, but I'm sure if I have 9 brothers and sisters, actually 10, one died. If I have 9 brothers and sisters, somebody suffered through it. Somebody got to be suffering through it, but nobody not saying nothing. Everybody they get good health. They don't feel nothing. They don't realize nothing. But I'm sure somebody has to have high blood pressure like me. So hopefully they get better. So
right. And we know that that's why one of the reasons why we have this channel. This is, health and wellness as it relates to, mental, spiritual, physical health. And that's something that both of us are working on. We are not perfect. Lord knows you've seen me try at least 3 times on this channel throughout the years of the weight loss journey, and that's something I'm still working on. Something my husband's still working on. He's not as nowhere big as it was, but we still, it's still a battle that we are going to win. We are going to win, but holding things in and just say, oh, let's just do it and just hope for it. No, sometimes you got to come up here and tell people the good, bad, and the ugly.
Yeah, because I was at one point I was at almost 315 pounds, and this stuff is me holding stuff in. I just hold this, and then it just secretly add up. It just stays inside you. And guess what? If you don't let it go, it go add up to you. So my thing is I just let everything go that was bothering me in the past. I just let it go. Let God take care of it, and that's what I do. I don't try to worry about it no more. I don't care about it no more. I just give up.
Right. So he said he give up, not to the point where give up on life, but he's saying he's not going to be trying to stress about it. So I think part of God brings you to certain people, right? We as being married, you have to minister to each other. So I think one thing that you learned from me is not to hold things on the inside more than anything. Because I've always been a very vocal person, and I don't let people just say anything to me. You know what I mean? I'm going to tell you how I feel. You may like it or you may not like it. If I'm upset, you will know it. But I'm going to be cordial. I'm going to be nice. I'm going to be professional. But I'm not going to let... So it's that... and I don't know if it's because I was the oldest of my mom's kids or what, or if it's just something I got from my dad's side of the family, because that side of the family is very vocal. And they don't hold their tongue. And I remember my paternal grandmother was, her name was Teresa Ragland. Teresa Ragland. Honey, she, come to her, you get your feelings hurt if you don't, you'll get your feelings hurt just walking in sometimes. So you had to have a very thick skin. But what I mean is, like, all of my especially my female cousins, and my sisters on my dad's side, we are very outspoken. You saw one of my sisters, Macia Bomani. I interviewed her about 2 interviews back, so go back and watch that. She talked about how she lost 300 pounds, and she's my half sister. She grew up with her mother's side of the family. We didn't meet each other till about 4 years ago. Everything was about 4 years ago, y'all. But all of that all connects. God is really trying to. He gives people problems so that they can help other people. I really believe it. Yeah. And he knows that our calling, God put us together because he knows that we have a greater calling. I believe it's a global calling. And that's why we have this channel. Because we are reaching people globally. People watching us from India, Ghana, Nigeria, Finland, Sweden. We have people not just in America. I got half the people that are subscribed to this channel are overseas. And thank you for watching. Because I want to show a different side of Black America. I don't want you to think that we're all tatted up, stripper culture, calling each other the N-word, ghetto, this. It's a lot of people like me and my husband here. That's what you don't see on mainstream media. So thank you for subscribing and, listening to our story. And the story is still being written. The rest is still unwritten. That's a song. One of my favorite songs. What do you want to say about your lifestyle now as opposed to your levels of stress versus, 5 years ago?
My thing is always remember whatever stresses you right now in life, let it go. Let it go. It's not even worth thinking about it. Let it go. Let it go. Whoever's stressing you out, let it go. You don't need that in your life. You don't need all that problem in your life. Let it go. Pray to God. And my thing is, like I said before, God is coming soon. So get your life right. Get your life right. That's all you got to worry about.
Right. And then if that was your purpose of being here, which it's greater than that, but I believe you have to say, because why would God tell you to keep the faith? Because he knew you was going to go through trials and tribulations. You're going to come back and tell the story. And see, the devil doesn't want us to do that. The devil try to operate through other people that you know and people that you don't know, to block your blessings. He tries to block your blessings. And God told me just to pray right now. God, we just come to you today and we just thank you for all of the blessings, all of the miracles that you have bestowed upon my husband, myself, our family, our children, my mother, my stepdad, my whole family, my sisters, my brothers, my cousins, my uncles, my aunties, my friends, my family, extended family, just everybody, God. We just thank you and we praise you just for having us on this channel to be a voice to the voiceless, to put things out there that other people may be afraid to be out there, but somebody's going to be released from this. The devil will not win. The enemy will not win. The enemy is trying to attack us through other people. We will not let the enemy attack us. We bind Satan in the name of Jesus. He will not win. He will not get any stronghold on my husband, my family, my kids, myself, anybody that we touch, anybody that's running, anybody that's listening. In your holy name we pray, Lord Jesus.
Amen.
And we thank you. Amen.
Amen.
We never done that before, y'all. And that wasn't planned. God just said pray. Because the world needs prayer. 4 years later, we're in an election year. The world gets kind of kooky around this time. And the enemy is just listening, trying to attack. He's trying to kill you. Because all the enemy wants to do is kill, steal, and destroy. He wants to kill you physically. If he can't kill you physically, he's going to try to kill you professionally. If he can't kill you professionally, he's going to try to kill somebody around you. Kill your dreams, kill your ideas. That's what we can't have. Now that's a real Shackles Off TV. Because the devil, see, this whole conversation was ordained by God 4 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, before we even knew it. He didn't know we was going to be sitting up in this room talking to you about this. But it ordered my steps. God ordered our steps. And we're not preachers and, we're teachers, but teachers have to have an influence in a positive way. Not just say, okay, let me see what the school system say. Okay, school system, what you want me to say? Okay, this is my platform to say what I need to say. Because sometimes your hands are tied, your mouth is bound because, if you on this channel, you're going to hear this. So if you don't want to hear it, go on and just unsubscribe, because God told me this is what we're supposed to be doing. And it's not about, okay, 1 million people have to see this. If that happens, wonderful. Mm-hmm. But the right people will. It's not about trying to please the algorithm. Oh, everybody, niche down there. And I get it. But it's not about pleasing the world. It's about pleasing God, doing things to please God. What God tells you to do. And so sometimes he uses you, your health, your sacrifice. This weight, it's going to come off. I can lose the weight. Those are chains. This weight, you can get your health better. As long as we breathe in, we can make it better. And mind you, even if we're not here, we still are spirit. We're not going nowhere. We just transform into something else. Did you have any closing remarks?
No, I'm good.
Well, y'all, thank you so much. This has been a deep conversation, more deep than we thought it would be. But again, this is Shackles Off TV. Our goal is to help you take the shackles off your mind, body, and spirit. Until next time, this is Shanika Bridges Mathieu.
Emmanuel Mathieu.
And you have a wonderful day. Thank you.